Hey, welcome back to our Gracie Jiu-Jitsu self-defense course. And in this first video in our standing self-defense section, we're going to cover escaping wrist grabs. Okay, this is a very common situation. And again, as you train these, train it at different aggression levels. Okay, it could be a very low aggression level, it could be very high aggression level. You want to vary the aggression you're training at. Not always everything is super aggressive. Okay, so it's very important to understand. This, whenever I grab him, this is a basic clinch. And why am I grabbing your hands? Okay.
Controlling distance. Controlling
distance, and also, can I grab your head right now? No. It's pretty far away, but this is pretty easy. It's the closest thing to me often. Mm-hmm. Okay. Also, sometimes I know if I control his hands, I know he can't hit me. Okay, or she. So often, this is the easiest thing for me to get to. You know, getting behind him and bear hugging him, that's going to take a little bit of work. It's also, again, a less threatening situation. So often attackers or predators can use the fact that this is a low threat situation to get you to comply, because it feels weird reacting for some people if I just go, hey man, let me talk to you for a second. Yeah. They'll come with you. Whereas if I go more aggressive, you feel, okay, well, I have the right to defend myself. Okay, so we're going to cover how to escape this. Again, there are what I call minor clinches, which are your hands, and major clinches, which are your arms and legs. This is a minor clinch. And a minor clinch is very simple. The thumb hinge is your escape route. It's just that simple. Okay, so if he grabs my wrist, for instance, this way, and I try to go, let's turn this way. This way, I'm moving into his hand. It's going to be very hard. If I try to pull away, I'm not quite moving into his palm, but I'm still moving into the strength of his fingers. Okay, so I want to go towards his thumb. Okay, so it's just that simple. Now, we're going to break it down into a lot of details of all the different grabs, but in the beginning, we're just going to make this very simple, and this is a drill you should do, because, quick story, I tell lots of stories. I was working with a guy one time in Hapkido, and we were working the different wrist grab escapes. He was very good, but then I just kept amping up the aggression, amping up the energy, and then I grabbed him one time really hard. And even though he'd done all the training, his immediate instinct was to start to pull. And he stopped after a couple seconds, and he was just, because it's instinct, right? So you have to mushin, you have to train this enough to where you resist that animal temptation to go the wrong way. By the way, this works on the ground as well. So sometimes people get really bored. Oh, whatever, I don't care. This is exactly the same thing you'll have to do on the ground. Okay, so very simple. We'll just do this in the beginning as a drill, as just to build this muscle memory so you don't get lost in the details too much. So if I grab this way, right, and actually I should say where the fingers, thumb and fingers meet is your exit. Which way should you go? Just move your hand. Okay, good. If I grabbed this way, right, this way, okay, very simple, right? And we'll cover when they grab the cloth, it's kind of the same situation, okay? So there's a lot of ways I can grab. Cross, same side, two hands, this, hands up, but it all comes down to the same thing. That hinge, that is the open door. Okay, so now we're gonna break it down very specifically. So we're gonna start first with the same side grab. I grab him here, okay? Now, one thing he wants to do is he wants to make sure, again, he's got good base, but that the same leg is forward as the same arm. So if he was like this, he wants to switch his legs right away. Because now if I pull, he's in good position. By the way, if I start to pull, he doesn't want his head to get in front of his toes. So if I pull and he feels he's starting to lose balance, it's okay to bring himself up. So when we do that, make sure, by the way, that you don't bring your back foot up and then step. He pulls, I feel myself losing balance. I'll take a slight step. Now, very important, I'm not going with him. Okay. Here's the other thing. When he pulls, your instinct, and this works with any of the arm grabs, your instinct pull is to push your butt back. Well, now pull, I'm really going to be off balance. What I want to do is engage my hip. So when he pulls, my hip engages pull here versus here, okay? Again, that's an instinct you have to train out of yourself. Okay, I'm not leaning back, I'm driving my hips. And if I can keep my elbow close to my body, I will. Sometimes it doesn't happen. If I feel myself start to lose my balance, I'll just make a slight motion. Okay, so now, I love this escape because it teaches one of the primary principles of jiu-jitsu and all escapes. Okay, you'll see this later in all kinds of ways. Jiu-jitsu is lazy. I don't move what's trapped. I move what's free. Again, that comes down to our animal instinct, right? We get caught and we fight where we're trapped. Okay, you move what is free. Okay, so when he grabs here, he may be strong enough that I can't even move my hand. Okay, I had a student train with me, Sully. He was a polar bear in just human skin. And if he grabbed you like this, you could feel your bones creak. And there was no way you were moving your hand. But I don't need to move my hand, okay? So first thing I want to do is I'm going to make a closed fist. And what I like to do is where his fingers are meeting, I like to turn so my thumb, the skinny part of my bone right there is right between his fingers. I don't want to have the fat part like this. It's easier for him to hold on to. So I turn it like this. Now if I just try to pull my hand back, you see how you can follow me, right? Okay, or if he's just strong enough, maybe I can't. But even if he's not strong and I pull, I haven't broken the control, okay, because he can follow. So what I want to do is I want to drive my elbow, let's turn this way, drive my elbow into his forearm. So hold. Notice that as I drive my elbow forward, my hand will come back. But because my elbow is going forward, he cannot follow with his hand. So hold on tight, 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 tight. No matter how hard he holds on tight, and I've had people try this now for over a decade, tell them to hold on as tight as they can. I'm talking about serious, military strong guys. Does not matter. I drive using my whole body here. Now I don't stand and go, oh, I did a great job. He grabs again. Always elbow in and I go back. Okay. One thing. Because he's only grabbing with one hand, I have to worry about that hand hitting me. So I want to make sure that my other hand is up covering, protecting my face. Don't get in the habit of this. Here, so I need to cover. I drive my elbow forward. If my arm is extended, by the way, I'll even step in. So I drive my elbow forward. I always imagine that there's a world's smallest Muay Thai pad on the back of his arm, and I'm throwing an elbow. And then I clear out. Now, if his fingers are meeting up a little bit more, instead of coming to the side, again, I'll turn my thumb so that it's in line with between his thumb and fingers, and I'll drive my elbow this way. Okay, so it's going to vary depending on if he's kind of grabbing to the side a little bit, he's grabbing more up a little bit, of which way I'll go. Okay, if it's more up, I go here. If it's more to the side, I go here. Now, again, it's going to feel like you don't want to do this. You go, okay, well, I did that part. I'm going to stand here. You're not done with the technique. Always practice backing away, because if I go here, maybe he follows, I clear him off, I'm maintaining my range. Okay, I'm escaping. Okay, so that's the same side one-on-one grab. Okay, that's very important to understand. If he grabs with both hands, one advantage, of course, is I don't have to worry about the punch anymore. Okay, I'm just going to do the same as before. I'm going to turn my thumbs, keep my body. I'm going to drive my elbow forward. I really want to emphasize this part. Let go of this for a second. Everybody wants to pull. Okay, here. Really focus on push. That's the power. If he's strong and I pull, I may get away, I may not. So I'm really taking my elbows forward, forward, and then clearing off. Okay, it's very simple. It's just make sure you're not trying to do both at one time. Okay, it's 1, 2, and then out. Okay, so now he goes 2-on-1. Okay, this, every grip will kind of tell you what he wants. If somebody grabs you with one hand, you probably have to deal with a punch or something. Okay, they grab you with two hands. This, he's much more likely to want to pull me somewhere. I really have to deal a lot more likely that he's trying to take me somewhere. So I've really got to get my base. Notice my legs get wider, my hips get more engaged here. Now, if he's using two hands, I can use two hands. Okay, so let's turn slightly about right here. Okay, So he's got two hands. I'm going to make a fist. This hand is going to come between his hands. Let it go for a second. And I'm going to grab this way. No thumb. I'm not grabbing this way. And I'm not grabbing on my fingers. Very important. I grab on my fingers. I bend my own wrist. I make a hook, and I grab right at my hand. Okay? Here. Now I'm going to pull my hand up, but at the same point, I'm going to drive my elbow forward. So now we're not fighting. I can't fight into the gap here, into the open doorway, because this palm is here. And I can't move from this doorway because this palm is here. So I have to go up through the thumbs. Okay, so from here, I come through. I'm going to drive my elbow forward as I pull my hand here. Now, why do we grab this way? Okay. One, I'm going to show you I'll have more power. But if I grab this way, I'm going to tend to bring it right up this way. I'm either going to hit myself in the face, or I'm just going to be very limited in my motion. By grabbing this way, I can go all the way past my face. I got a lot more motion. So we're here. I got a lot more power than trying to do this motion. Okay, so I come here. I go 2-on-1. He comes over, and we're right out. Okay. Again, what you're going to do is, when I practice this, if we practice this more aggressively, first always get your base. That's something I can't preach enough. We don't defend anything until we've got our base. So if I'm here and I'm grabbing it, once he has his base, he goes here. I don't want to be falling all over the place trying to grab my hand and do the technique. Very important again, don't have your fingers open and grab your fingers and wrist lock yourself. Okay, so that's the 2-on-1. Okay, so now we're going to go, okay, if you were supposed to do good self-defense, where should your hands be? Yes. Okay, so we practice, most time you see people practice wrist escapes is this. But if your hands are in a good place, where should they be? So we go here, I grab. Again, this is the way out. But if he just brings his hand down, it's very hard. Okay, again, he's going to use his elbow pushing forward to force his hand out. Okay, so let's turn this way just a little bit. So from here, you can make a fist, or you can keep your hand open since I'm not grabbing hands. It's kind of a personal thing in this situation. Here, so what he's going to do is he's going to lift the elbow up, and he's going to rotate his body, driving the elbow down. He's going to lift the elbow up and drive down. Now, one mistake I see people do a lot when they first do this is, remember, you act like where he grabbed you, that's frozen in space. It doesn't move, okay? So don't move your hand. So people will go here, and then they'll dive their hand down, and they're trying to do it, and it's not working. Or they'll roll their arm over and kind of do this, and it doesn't. So one way to learn how to do that is he's going to grab his shirt so that his hands won't move. So then he's going to rotate his whole body this way. Let's turn this way. So go slow. He rotates. Notice his hand doesn't move. Again, come back. He doesn't want to roll his hand over and try to do this. He's using the bone edge of his hand, very much like a cutting downward Muay Thai elbow. Here, people always ask me, can you elbow the guy? If it happens, it happens, but that's not my focus. And again, I don't necessarily want to escalate. Okay, so his hands are up. Now without it, again, watch his hands. They do not move down. The elbow is doing all the work. Okay, so a very common situation. You know, it may be a situation where, you know, he got away from one of these, then he put his hands up, and then I come here and here. Okay, so we did 2-on-2. Now we're going to do 2-on-1. Okay, so I grab one. This is often a situation where, from a self-defense standpoint, we may be keeping him away with his checking arm, and he controls. Okay, so with this hand out, I control. Again, thumbs are on the bottom. So he's going to come over after he gets his good base. Just like before, he's going to come over, palm facing in. Okay, he's not locking his hands this way. He's coming over. He's going to lift his elbow now using his whole body rotation. He's going to pull his elbow towards his back knee here. So this is a tremendous amount of power. Okay, so notice as he does and he comes over, he's going to use this arm to frame me off to keep me away. Okay, so let's do it from this angle. I come over, go back. Do not, again, grab your fingers. Here, do not move your hand down. Elbow up, turn your whole body, cut across. Okay? So those are our grabs in that direction. Now we're going to work. Somebody grabs you in the come along grip. So this is an inverted grip. Often you will see it. Maybe people don't understand why you should do this grip because it's face me. Because they go, well, nobody grabs you like this. Well, the point is this is often done from the side or somebody pulling you this way. Think abducting a little child or a really rude guy at a bar is like, hey, come talk to me. Okay. So when I go here, as always, he wants to get his base, same leg forward. Okay. So again, the open door is facing backwards now. If he just swings his arm back, I can follow. Okay. So first thing he wants to do is get his elbow fairly tight to his body. He's going to rotate as if he's pouring water out this way. Here. Now, again, he wants to move his hand, not so much his arm. So he's going to bring his arm up. I always tell in the kids' classes like he's putting his thumb in his ear. Here. So what I'm not doing is turning and just bringing my arm back. I keep it tight. I rotate until my hand is behind his forearm, and then I bring it up. So we're here, here. This is especially for women and little kids. This is one of the most crucial self-defense techniques you have because, you know, hey, come on, here. Okay. If you do it right, if you do it right, it should almost feel like you just kind of lost your grip, right? Like they didn't really do anything here. Okay. That's an incredibly important technique. All right. So we're going to cover a couple more. Okay. Again, when you practice, do that first drill of just getting used to the way out. But a lot of people go, well, I don't need to know all this because I'll just rip my arm out. Okay. Again, as I told the story of the person who tried to pull away, it's not going to happen. You're going to fight into the structure rather than into the opening. We're always looking for the open door, and we're always looking to get out the open door, and that takes training. That takes, just like, if you're caught in an arm lock, you have to know which way your elbow's in danger and which way to turn, and that only comes from training it enough. Same thing with these grips. You have to know which way is the out way and which way is putting you further into trouble. So we're going to deal with cross grips. Okay. These aren't as common, but they're still pretty common. Okay. So it's going to come down to a couple things. Is he grabbing more on the inside, or is he grabbing a little bit more here? Will kind of depend. Okay. So if he's grabbing here, we call this the hello goodbye. Okay. So from here, I'm just going to bring my hand up. Now, normally we try to move the elbow, and we will in this one, so it's a little bit misleading. You think I'm just bringing my hand up. Okay. If I just bring my hand up, resist, I have trouble. Okay, resist. Okay, do it again, hold tight. Use both hands. Okay, how do I do that? I'm not lifting my hand. That's the end. I'm driving my elbow under. So when I do this, I drive my elbow under my hand rather than just try to lift my hand. I drive my elbow under. Mm-hmm. Okay. From here, once I drive my elbow, I'm just going to come here and use this hand to assist and clear it off. Okay, so we're here. I drive my elbow under and I clear it off. Okay. I could go other things, but for now we're just focusing on self-defense. So when I grab him here, if he just tries to lift his hand, here, but he drives his elbow exactly. So notice on this one, because he's grabbing more on the inside of my arm, it's hard for me to go to the outside. I come in, I clear, and I go. Okay. He goes a little bit more on the top, and this might be a situation where he's grabbed me more from as I'm turning away rather than maybe I'm here. So I'm here and he grabs me this way. Same as before, I'm focusing on getting the elbow rather than trying to lift the hand. So I'm going to drive my elbow in. Now my hand is going to turn a little bit. I'm going to push. I'm going to use the other hand, so keep it heavy. Hold down, you can use both hands. Here, here. Okay, so we'll do it with one hand. I'm more catching him this way. He's driving the elbow, and as he does, so come back. First, he's kind of going this way, and then he's going to rotate, driving the elbow, and then he can use both hands to push off. Good. This works even if I'm kind of going across this way. Here. Okay. So these are our sort of major wrist grab counters. You should practice them as much, especially if you do no-gi grappling, right? I see people all the time go, well, I don't really care about the self-defense, doing the silly wrist grab escapes. And then what happens in no-gi, they're getting arm dragged all day long because they're letting somebody control their wrist and not doing a thing about it, okay? If you let me control your wrist, hold on, right, yeah, I'm setting arm drags, high crotches, any number of things. 2-on-1s, okay? So it applies not if you're just self-defense, okay? But again, if you're trying to teach somebody or you're concerned at all about your safety, which you should be, this is one of the most common sort of low threat situations. Again, we're not attacking off of it. And please, God, we're not trying to punch the person because they grabbed us, okay? We're escaping the hold first. If you want to punch after that, that's fine. But first, always escape the control. And that is our self-defense course, the variety of ways you'll be grabbed hand to wrist, and how to escape.